All right, here we go. We're in the gondola. Again, thanks to Stowe for letting us have this trip up here, because it's just an awesome day to be viewing not only the larger landscape up to Smuggler's Notch. In particular, we can view the elevation gradient and how the changing vegetation sort of adheres to the change in elevation as we go up. So as I'm looking out the window here, we're right in the spot where it is the northern hardwood forest. And as we start to go up, we are, I think, here at about 1,800 feet. So beech and sugar maple, and we'll keep our eye out for yellow birch as well, because those are the big three. And as we continue up this gradient, usually what happens is that the first of the ones to drop out is beech, and then sugar maple a little bit after that, and yellow birch really persists as we go up. It starts to mix in with the red spruce forest. Other species I'm seeing in here as we're looking out the window are striped maple in the understory. There's actually quite a bit of it, and when we get up to this tension zone, which is at about 2,500 feet, that's the spot at which the northern hardwood forest really starts to shift over to the montane red spruce forest and mixing in with increasing amounts of balsam fir. As the daylight changes and the colder temperatures come in, of course, it triggers the changes in the pigmentation of the leaves, and the red pigmentation and the yellow and the orange underneath the green, underneath the chlorophyll, starts to show through, especially in the top of the foliage. Oh, there's our first red spruce in the mix here. That means we must be getting up close to about 2,000 feet is really where they start to come in their own. As we were talking about down low, every time you go up 500 feet, quite a few differences occur. Every 1,000 feet of elevation change usually means about 3 to 5 degrees in temperature overall. If you kind of average that across the year, a temperature drop of 3 to 5 degrees Fahrenheit. And as you go up as well, usually you gain 3 to 5 inches of rainfall as well. And the overall growing season changes dramatically. Ooh, I'm looking out here and I'm seeing a kind of a good change, and we're seeing our first balsam fir in the mix, one of the hardiest of our evergreens. It'll be up there right in the Krumholtz when we get up above 3,000 feet. There's a red maple. That's a good sign to see. Red maple is actually surprising. Red maple is a species that can occur down at lake level with its roots in Lake Champlain, and it occurs even higher than sugar maple, sometimes up to about 3,000 feet. Of course, as we go up here to ultraviolet radiation is changing a bit. It's not nearly what happens when you go up into the Rockies, but still it's a significant factor for plants, especially up in the alpine zone, to be able to deal with that. Something that we're protected from right here, but we'll feel once we get out of the cliff house, is the wind. Winds can be tremendous here when you get up higher. As people know, when you get up into the White Mountains, onto Mount Washington, the highest winds recorded on Earth were actually up in the mountains of the Northeast. So it can be quite windy, it can shape the trees, and all those are environmental stresses. Oh, I'm seeing our first mountain ash is coming into the understory here as well. So mountain ash, along with striped maple, become part of the trees in here. You can see the compound leaves. And now we're getting into some of the high elevation birch as well. Paper birch has a subspecies, I believe, called heartleaf paper birch or montane birch, and we're getting into that as we go up higher here as well. One thing that's really interesting, we've got a clear day today, but if you're down in Burlington or in other areas and you're looking up on kind of a gray November day, you usually see that the cloud level hovers at right about 2,500 feet. And that 2,500 feet level also corresponds to really the shift over from the northern hardwood forest to the montane spruce fir forest. And when you think about it, if clouds are hovering there, essentially the moisture in the clouds is going to precipitate out into moisture, and it's going to make the soils above 2,500 feet just much wetter, and therefore leading to a lot more frost that occurs and just generally harsher conditions. So while in general, when you go up when you go up in elevation and you get this idea of orographic precipitation, As the clouds rise up, they can't hold as much moisture, so they drop them as rain or as snow. There's actually a point that we're coming up on here at 2,500 feet where the clouds tend to hang in the winter. And I think we're coming up on it right here. As we look up the hillside from this break in the road, I think you can see that it's really dominated by spruce fir, along with different species of hardwood trees. I'm seeing mostly mountain ash in here, and we're getting into the high elevation birch as the other species. Really, beech is largely dropped out. Sugar maple is dropped out. The one species that is mixed in here of the big three northern hardwoods is yellow birch. In fact, there's a montane yellow birch red spruce forest that's right in this zone right here at about 2,700 feet. But eventually the yellow birch drops out as well, and it pretty much becomes dominated by red spruce and balsam fir with the high elevation birch really mixed into the canopy. We're not far from the cliff house. We passed that tension zone, that transition zone, and we're at about 3,000 feet. One thing you can notice is actually the tree height is getting significantly shorter. Soils are getting thinner, environmental conditions are getting more challenging, and therefore for these trees to survive, they really can't be as tall. They're shaped by the wind, shaped by the frost, shaped by the snow and the wind together, creating what we call ultimately the Krumholtz forest, or the crooked tree forest, that really starts to dominate the forest as we get to tree line. And eventually the trees are just not going to be able to survive any longer, and we'll get up above tree line as we generally approach 4,000 feet. So basically, as we come up, we're almost to the cliff house. We've taken a quick trip north as we've gone up 2,000 feet in elevation. It's equivalent of going way up north into Quebec, at least environmentally, and we'll see what awaits us when we get on the ground.